Warning advisory. The following audio diaries were presented to GoatMan Hollow Productions via an unknown source. GMH Productions cannot validate the authenticity of these recordings or the information provided within. GMH Productions cannot be held responsible for all or any information contained in these recordings or any circumstances that may occur as a result of listening to them in full or in part. You are advised to listen at your own risk.
April 10th, day 4, 4:15 a.m. ARC. How appropriate an acronym. ARC. Sounds almost biblical, like Noah's Ark. It stands for Agricultural Research Center, but I wonder if it might have been chosen to signify a connection to the story in the Bible. The official government story says that the ARC was set up by the United States Department of Agriculture to research, preserve, and monitor the livestock and crops of America's food supply. The ARC has been involved in many controversial experiments having to do with our nation's food and has always kept a high level of secrecy, which has spawned many rumors of almost conspiracy-like proportions. Everything from carnivorous plants that eat humans to cows with glass windows in their sides are rumored to exist solely because of the experiments they perform on the USDA campus. Mostly in Glendale's files about the ARC are reports that echo strange things such as these. But I did happen upon something that makes, or kind of makes, a connection between Fletcher and the government. Even though Glendale's files consist of all the employment records, dating from the early 1900s to the mid-1900s, there seems to be no listing of a Dr. Stephen Fletcher accounted for. But Glendale was very resourceful, and he found a couple of newspaper articles that places Fletcher at the ARC in the late 1920s to the early 30s. One article in particular was a release done by the ARC telling about an honorary doctorate given to Stephen Fletcher for his creation of a vaccine used to save the nation's goat supply from a deadly disease. The vaccine was given a name, and that name was Formula 333. 333. There's that number again. Is this where Glendale got the number? 333. It seems that this number 333 is very significant to Glendale's investigation into Fletcher and the GoatMan. This is all very odd considering he is not listed in the employment records, but it is clear from the article that he worked at the ARC and was being honored for his medical discovery, which changed the livestock industry. Could this be another cover-up by our most trusted government? There is one more article that could shed some light on this. It is an article telling about an incident that happened in the early 30s, and it involved the destruction of a lab at the ARC and the disappearance of Dr. Fletcher. In the article, the ARC blames the destruction on vandals or thieves, but makes no comment on the whereabouts of Dr. Fletcher. Scattered throughout the file and attached to the articles are small post-it notes that are written by Glendale. Actually, these are more like questions to himself, like, is the government behind this? Why don't they answer the questions? But the one question that sticks out the most to me is, what happened to Fletcher? This must be where Glendale seriously turned his focus onto Fletcher in hopes of finding proof about the GoatMan. This is all starting to sound very much like the X-Files or something. Glendale's investigation into the GoatMan could only serve to hurt the agency if any of this were to ever get out. So maybe the agency is responsible for Glendale's disappearance. And could the ARC be responsible for Fletcher's disappearance? This seems to be the way that Glendale's investigation is leading me. I just feel like there is something missing here. Something that Glendale meant to add to the ARC file, but for some reason he didn't. Just from my own experience with his files, Glendale's not one to make giant leaps into theories without some sort of proof. There must be another file that I'm not seeing, something that would tie Fletcher directly to the GoatMan legend, something more solid that would bring everything together in one nice little package. Maybe I'm asking too much. Oh well. I'll just keep looking. Glendale may have been a little crazy for believing this GoatMan nonsense, but I have learned that he was one hell of an investigator and agent. If he means for it to be found, it will be. I can see now why the agency would love to get their hands on everything he wrote and collected during his investigation. I may be getting ahead of myself here, and I can't get wrapped up into any conspiracy theories right now. I have to stay true and focused on my task and keep a sane mind, or I might end up the same way. Back to the files. I have a lot of reading to do. 36-427.